gotta leave your money behind you. Raise your hand to the sky.
Welcome back to Give Me Some Truth. Today we're talking a bit more about our journey and kind of about the future as our RIA continues to develop. So right now, when Nate and I started, we were just hoping and crossing our fingers that we had enough in assets that we could keep the lights on, pay our administrative assistant at the time, and maybe even pay our mortgages. So that was how we started, and that was about 2012 into 2013, and then
2011 into 2012.
Well, yeah, I mean we left like very late 2011,
right?
And then we tried to earn some macaroni and cheese money for the first couple of years, and then we eventually were able to scale enough where everything is fine. And then
Can you still eat Kraft macaroni and cheese?
Yeah, I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it's not like it doesn't taste like kind of how like some stuff like when you're from a kid and you eat it now and you're like, oh, this is terrible.
When's the last time you had it?
Wow. It's probably a race between that and the last time I've had Taco Bell.
Seriously?
At least 15 years.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we have to remedy both of those things.
Yeah, because Danny tells me about like the good stuff at Taco Bell now, and I have no idea what he's talking about.
I think they brought the Mexican pizza back, did they not?
Yeah, they did. I just saw that. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So like
I gotta
the
try that again.
crunch wrap, that's good, Dan.
I'm just Taco Supremes, dude. That's fine.
Yeah, no, right. See, I'm old school. I remember the last time I remember when I used to go to Taco Bell frequently, which was when I worked in Rockford for Wells Fargo, and it was always the Taco Supremes.
Well, no tomatoes, obviously.
No, I'd roll with tomatoes on that. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay on that.
Because you thought it was like a pico? Is that what you're treating it in your head?
Exactly. Yeah, it was more like a salsa, right?
Dude,
As opposed to like just a big like slice of tomato. Like, no, that's no.
Yeah, so I love it. Every once in a while my kids want it, so I'll eat a little bit of it, and it just reminds me of yesteryear, and it's wonderful.
Mac and cheese?
It's great.
Yeah. Okay.
And my kids like Taco Bell, so I'd say once every. We'll go once every quarter.
You're in a different spot though, because you have little kids. Like little kids, you just kind of break down to whatever they want and just go, all right, fine. Like so that's a different story. So yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like if it was just up to you, you wouldn't go to Taco Bell as often.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, in every once in a while, maybe twice a year.
Right.
I'd much rather go to like Portillo's or like Chick-fil-A or something like that.
Right.
If I'm gonna expend the bad calories, you're gonna go to someplace with a little higher quality.
So this is funny too. So Danny moves in July. Moving July, Danny? In July, and across the street from his apartment is going to be a Culver's, a Dunkin' Donuts, and then like an Arby's and a Quick Trip. So this will be very interesting to see the amount of willpower that our marketing genius has inside of his body. Because this is more or less than walkable. You could almost like reach out your window and be in the drive-through.
I mean, yeah. If he was older, I would go Quick Trip would be the big one of that one, but he's not. So I'm going Culver's. It's going to be.
Oh, and Jimmy John's. It goes Culver's, Jimmy John's, and then they're putting the Dunkin' Donuts in.
If he ever wants to go play video games, he can go to BB Jack's.
Go to BB Jack's. He's right there. Yeah. So this will be interesting. This would be a fun little social experiment with Dan to see how much willpower he has to be able to to kind of say no to the blue tinge that'll come through as light from the Culver's sign. Mm-hmm. It's almost like when Kramer had the Kenny Rogers roasters where the red light would shine in his apartment. So we'll see. So
and this is one thing that's an enigma to me too, is people think that you can have a restaurant with like games on the other side, and I'm sure the games are highly profitable for the place, but what people don't realize that run those businesses is that as a parent, that's your own personal hell. Because the kids go in there and they spend money so fast for the tickets and the trinkets that you never want to return.
Right.
Like I never want to go back to BB Jack's ever again.
Right.
Food was decent. I was there. Kids are super excited to do it. I tell you, like it's a once a year deal. I can't do it any more than that. I'm just like, no, you can't try to get the little arm where you win the thing.
Oh yeah, the stuffed animal.
Oh,
machine.
it's the worst. Yeah, and all of a sudden, like $5 go by. I'm like, it's like a $1 plush thing that you don't need.
Right.
It's just I can't do it.
Are you going to take your kids? Do you see yourself taking your kids to like Great America?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like the lines. I don't like all that. Like,
Yeah.
like because it's so infrequent, that's something that I believe as a financial advisor, I believe that you have to pay up for those experiences so you maximize that experience, right? I don't want to sit in line for 2.5 hours to go in one ride. So I'll pay fast pass, all that stuff to get to the front. Let's experience it because it's so infrequent.
So it's the idea of it. We're not going to do this 4 times a year. We're going to do this 1 time a year, but we're going to do it as well as we can once a year so that we get so that it becomes as palatable as possible.
That's exactly right. You got to make it palatable.
Because that sounds horrible to me.
Well, right now, yeah. When you have like teenage kids that are older, even you're talking about a completely different situation.
Oh, I can't. I think I could still go to a water park and have fun for a little while, but I think that would be the same as sushi for me, where I would get to like a point where I would literally get to a spot and then have to leave 5 minutes later and have to be like, nope, I'm out now. I'm done. And I would need to like walk out, like walk straight to the car at that point.
Best part of the water park is getting there super early and being the first people, or staying super late and being the last people. Other than that,
I've never done the late thing.
The late thing's great.
Interesting.
Late thing's great.
Interesting. How late do they go?
I don't even know. I was there
like
late
Noah's
one
Ark.
time.
How?
I don't. I think they go to like 7 or 8. I mean, it gets.
Okay.
I mean, it's not dark, but
okay.
But it's late and everyone's left. Like all the families have left. So you're like you're in good shape and you can start riding those things like end of the day right as it goes. But then you got to pick out the one you want. They got a couple that are really good. Like
you just do the plunge like 15 straight times.
They have one that's next to the plunge. It's even better now. It's like a loop thing. It's actually really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got a couple cool things there.
What do you think would be the result of Walkner Condon doing a branch field trip to like Noah's Ark?
I mean, I don't know if I want to see all of our employees in swimsuits at all. Like, I just think that's, and it's just too.
And the sunburn, boy, when that day is over, holy cow.
I just picture, for some reason, it's Stan and Keith would just get lobster sunburn. Like, just, they have that sort of skin tone. Not like I don't either, but I mean, I think I have the good sense to put on sunscreen.
Sure.
I think those guys would apply it right in the morning.
Yep.
And then wouldn't apply it the whole rest of the day. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, I put some sunscreen. I don't know why I'm so burnt at the end of the day. They'd come into the office and they'd be beat red. And then they'd have to record a video with Dan or something. That's what would happen.
Yeah, that would be an interesting, like, do that and then come back and do a podcast of a recap of what happened our day out at. Because we could put a camera in Dan's hand. Could you bring a camera in there, Dan? Could you do that? So that would be interesting to kind of do like a video of Walkner Condon at Noah's Ark.
Have you ever been to a non-Noah's Ark water park?
Yeah, the one in Rockford, Magic Waters.
Oh, I've been to that one.
I've been to that one a couple times.
That one is okay.
It's fine for what it is. It's fine. And then I think I've been to like one of the non-big ones at the Dells. Because Familyland and Noah's Ark are kind of the two behemoths. And then I can't remember the one we went to.
Familyland's been replaced, I think, now. Hasn't it?
It's not Familyland
I don't even
anymore?
know if it's Familyland anymore.
Oh,
I went to like Mount Olympus.
Oh,
that one is like pretty
okay.
big now too. I did go to that one. That one's more a combination of roller coasters and a little bit of slides and stuff like that. Pretty good combo. Not bad.
Right.
Not bad.
See, and it's hard for us because of how we kind of see the world, right? So we put a lot of value on golf and are willing to spend money on golf and equipment and playing and all that stuff. So I assume that there's probably people that feel the same way about things like Great America or Noah's Ark and maybe don't spend the amount of money that maybe nowadays. I mean, with the expense, I don't know how much it costs to go to Noah's Ark anymore, but I'd be willing to bet that there's probably people that do kind of a once a week at Noah's Ark.
Well, if you live down there, I mean, you'd obviously get like a pass or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they, had a Disneyland pass pre-pandemic, and she was like, "Yeah, it was a great deal because
because they were in California.
They were in California, super young kids.
Right,
it was perfect. You'd take them there for the day, and they would love it. It's like, I mean, if you think about it, it was only a 20-minute trip for them.
Sure.
Why? It's better than going to a park. You get to go to Disneyland.
Right.
What a great deal.
And you stay as long as you want. Leave after an hour if you want to. It's no big deal. Yeah. How much does that cost, I wonder? How much does a season pass cost to Disneyland?
It was not as bad as you think, but now I think.
Dan, can we get a little
Dan's
assistance on that? A little Google assistance.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. What's it going to be? What's the number going to be? For a single, like for
Single-
one person, not a family. For
Single
one person.
season pass.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's probably $75 to $80, maybe even $100 to get in for the day. You got to figure, right?
Oh, it's got to be at least that much, isn't it?
Well,
Dan,
I'm
we
not
also
talking
need-
about all the fast pass extras because there could be a ton of extras.
And we also
right?
need a single day, to go in.
So I'm figuring single days around $80 to $100 a person. So I'm figuring that a pass for the year I'm going $1,000 a person.
Oh, my brain immediately went to $5,000.
It's like a country club membership.
Seriously,
I
I think
don't
it's
that
that's too high. So I think it's. Hold on, before I look at this, I think it's $2,400.
Wow.
Dan,
649, but that's like the Disneyland Enchant Key annual pass.
how much?
649.
$649. What?
See?
Wow,
Tremendously good value.
I was way off on that.
Well, because you only go for a day or two.
1,300.
1,300.
1,300. Okay.
So that's pretty close.
What did you say? You said
1,200, I
$1,000?
think.
Yeah.
I said 1,200. Did I say grand?
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I mean, so I was pretty close because you're only going there for a few days, right?
Right.
So you're not
Right.
going to buy the pass unless you live in the area, and then if you live in the area,
No,
it's
but
a
right.
big
But
deal.
to that point, if you live in the area, that's a great. That's a fantastic
yeah,
option. I mean, if you're gonna go, if you know you're gonna go, a decent amount.
yeah. So I talked to my brother-in-law. He said that, so he lives in the Orange County area, and he was going to go to, football game. He was going to see, it was San Diego.
San Diego
So
State.
It was the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Professional. Okay.
Well, they're the LA Chargers now, right? So he was going to
It's
see
still
the
San
LA
Diego.
Chargers game.
It's stop. No, there's still San Diego.
And so he had to leave. Now, mind you, he said the stadium's about 30 minutes from his house. And he had to leave 3.5 hours early
Sure.
to get to the stadium. And it's not like he tailgated, not like all that kind of stuff. He left and had to travel that far. He said it's about 30 miles away.
So brutal out there. So brutal out there.
Can't do it.
Yeah. No.
I wouldn't want to turn that adventure into, like, I can almost drive up to Minocqua for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I can't do it.
Wow.
Like, we think that Miller Park, you're like, oh man, the traffic getting to Miller Park, it took us like 15 minutes to get
Right.
through the line. Yeah.
Right.
Not bad at all.
What was our topic today?
Our topic
I
was,
think it was macaroni and cheese, wasn't it?
I think you're right. No, it was,
Dan is just
it was,
cringing.
It was
He can't handle it.
scaling, but we don't have to do that now.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have to do that now. We'll talk a little bit about that because I think that is we'll segment in. So I think the idea of scaling for us is really unique because we were so small for so long, right? And I think that's atypical, right? And then I think that now people are surprised as to how big we are. Not that we're massive, but just relative to how small we were for so long and where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean,
Because we're at 10 now.
We're at 10 now.
10 full-time employees.
and in full disclosure, we're having conversations with a couple other people, and it's a situation of managing that growth. And I read that Kitz's article, and Kitz's said in the article that firms that are like 500 million in size,
Which is where we are.
we're right around there. So we're at about a little less because of the market now.
Right.
Call it 440, 450.
Right.
But we were at 500 for like a day, I think. Right. But we're between 500 and $1 billion. They say the revenue of the firm or what the owners get paid out, essentially the partners, et cetera, won't change in many cases. And sometimes it goes down as you're scaling because you have to add this infrastructure of people.
Right.
And that's kind of where we're at right now, is saying, how many bodies do we need to help us to provide the service experience that we require in our
Right.
firm now? And so it's very fortuitous that we have clients that want to see us. It's very fortuitous that we get to, some people want to get to the owners and they want to work with us, and some want to work with others. And, and you have to be careful about how many clients you take on into your business, and then also not having your service experience go down. And we have managerial duties on top of that, with the firm being managing partners.
That are expanding as we bring more people in.
Correct, because it takes training and takes all the personality stuff that you have to do. You have to spend time with people. You have to train them. You have to you have to do all of that.
Right.
Not everyone's like Dan, where you just go, hey, figure this out.
Exactly.
You know, it's a very, very, very mediocre training program by his boss, but it's fine.
He seems to have come through it well.
That's right.
I
Sometimes
think we call it a minimalist.
sometimes when you just ignore them long enough, then they just grow. It's like those little succulent plants where you just give it a little bit of water and then it just does fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Slight side note. Selena wants to file a lawsuit against the vandals. No, yes, vandals in our garden.
Who are the vandals?
We think they have a cottontail and 4 feet, but not sure. But rest in peace to our celery, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, lettuce, and I think one other thing.
I was very excited about all these. I think you're going to need an elevated bed.
The rabbits were excited as well because they decided to go ahead and help themselves to the buffet. So it was kind of a funny thing in the house to think of like the first rabbit that found it. Like, can you imagine like that rabbit's brain when they found it? Like, because they knew that none of the other rabbits had found it yet. And they were just trying to like eat as much as they possibly
could. A little bit of everything.
Before the other rabbits kind of like, it's like finding a buffet that like nobody knows about. And then all of a sudden you just like, hey, this is pretty cool.
And the rabbit's like, this kohlrabi's really good. I never knew.
Fantastic. And now I'm going to go over to celery. Oh, that's good too. And I'm going to go over here.
Elevated beds. You got some work cut out for you now.
She got fencing. So we're going to find out. We're going to see how this works.
Take two.
Take two.
It's going to be the most expensive lettuces and
it's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry, we digress. So I think the other funny thing about about scale is the little things that you don't think about until they become a problem, right? You don't really kind of consider them to be things that are problematic until they are, and then it's like hard to fix, right? So even things like space in here, right? Like we love our location, we love all of that, but at some point it just becomes too many people to put in one area. So then kind of what do you do, right? And that wasn't a problem when we had 3 people, and it's not a problem now, right? So you 3 to 10, no big deal, right?
It's almost a problem now.
And then all of a sudden it's like, and that's not an easily solvable problem. And so kind of how do you get to that point? And I think that it's important to share this information and have an honest dialogue with clients in a format like this so that they understand kind of why we make the decisions that we make. And it's not just because we come up with some crazy idea well, sometimes it is, but for the most part, we don't just come up with some crazy idea one morning and implement it. It's because, of other factors that were involved that people might not be aware of. Like we just switched to a different client web portal. Why did we do that? Because it's more robust, it's bigger, it's more secure, it's better. And so,
and it was an all-in-one solution. That's what we've gone to. And I think is as you get larger, you have to centralize some stuff.
Right.
You just can't have all these different programs where people use it kind of haphazardly in certain cases, and then full implementation in others. And I think that's the biggest change for us as we get larger is that you become more and more process-oriented, more and more workflow-oriented. You can't have the lone wolf advisor just saying, I'm just going to do it the way that I want to do it. That doesn't work. You can't have that in your organization because you can't supervise that person. And then you can't give everyone a consistent experience throughout the firm. So, we pride ourselves on giving people a consistent experience. So, that's one reason why we made that change. I think you're absolutely right about the office space thing. I mean, you and I have shared this. Our greatest fear is that, if you start to get too big and you have to go with different office spaces and things get disjointed and you don't have that sort of oversight and you don't have bring people together, then you lose your identity. You lose your culture. And so that's what we have to do. We have to continue to stay small and stay who we are, but we have to be able to project that over multiple locations because that will happen in the future. And we're going to have to work that out. And then also as managing partners, you and I have the challenge of keeping people all together and just, having those duties get expanded, or we hire somebody in that role. You and I will probably retain that role, and then we're just going to have to absorb that as part of our regular job duties, and then also be mindful of how many clients we bring in.
Right, exactly. And the client experience piece is super important to us because a lot of our growth comes from our existing clients saying, hey, I'm having a good experience. Friend of mine, relative of mine, whoever it might be, work colleague of mine, you should go and talk to these guys. And so we want that consistent experience so that when a client refers a friend or a relative or whatever it might be, they have confidence that that person's going to have the same experience that they had, right? And so this kind of being able to duplicate and replicate that experience over and over is really important to us. And it gets more challenging as you bring on more people because, as you said, you have different personalities, obviously, and so things start to kind of fracture a little bit. And so, how do you keep that experience the same? And it also speaks to why, unfortunately, because we wish it was different, but it's not, why we can't take every single person on as a client, right? And a lot of people I don't think understand that. They go, well, how come you can't just take everybody on as a client? And you and I had personal experience with this when we worked at our former firm of having a large number of households that we managed money for. Combined, it was a number that had a comma in it, and that just doesn't work. And it's unfortunate because that means then you have to tell people that you can't work with them, and it's not that you don't want to, but you understand the perils that come with taking on too many households and getting too big, not by way of employees, but too big by way of clients that you then can't service.
That's exactly right. And I think that's going to be one of our challenges going forward is, how do we end up having people that want to continue to work with us, that we want to continue to work with, and how can we keep that experience consistent and give them the time that they need? And I think that's, we're determined to do that. And will probably be adding some staff for us to help us out. And we never had that before. A support advisor or something like that will likely happen in the future. And resultingly, we're going to introduce some new faces, and the advantage of that is we get to train them exactly how we want them trained. And so that's going to be a huge advantage for clients going forward, is that they'll have another point of contact. And I agree with you on that. The hardest thing is telling somebody no, especially when somebody gets referred over and we might have to say, hey, you can't work with Nate and I, but we have other advisors that have more capacity.
Right.
And this is maybe a better fit for you. And, it's messaging, and it's not that we love them any less. It's just the fact that we just, don't have the capacity to have 500 clients. If we do, then everybody else is going to suffer.
Right.
Or we won't be able to manage the firm, and it'll just kind of collapse upon itself. And that's the whole thing about as we grow, how much more are we going to take on our plate, and how much do we kind of let go? And we're business owners and control freaks. That's a challenge.
Yeah, and I think that good, bad, or indifferent, it's worked to this point of being control freaks, and I think that's part of the reason why it's hard to divest of things, because when something's successful, then you're reticent to want to make a lot of changes to that thing. And I think that's one of the. I think it's important for clients to understand that is one of the things that we take into mind when we make changes, or when we do things, or when we hire somebody, or when we, whatever it might be. It all starts with, what effect does this have on culture? What effect does this have on the client experience?
Yeah,
we kind of use that as the ballast, if you will. Danny, did I use that right? Ballast, more or less, kind of. Yeah. We asked Dan because he's our English expert in the office. Danny, you can English expert? That's fair, right? Yeah, but I mean, yeah, right. Journalism and a product of the J School at UW. Right. But I think that's the reason why we have gotten to where we've gotten, is that we've always tried to keep central the idea of client experience / culture, and foster those two ideas as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I've learned over the last few years is that you can give something away and still have it be successful. And not only successful, it can be better.
Right.
So, for example, one of the things that I'm the chief compliance officer too. I serve in that role, but I've given away a lot of the day-to-day compliance to a compliance partner that we finally found that we trusted. And so while that's expensive to do that, we found it to be a really good fit for being able to do a lot of the blocking and tackling, the day-to-day stuff. And I still have responsibilities to, approve the big stuff or, answer to the big audits and things like that, but they are assisting me. And then the second thing was marketing and having Dan in-house and having somebody that I really trusted to do it in a full-time role, which we hadn't had before. And so that's been a huge advantage too, is that, hey, I can do some things, but Dan, tracks things a lot better and he's able to produce more content than I have, and he lives it every day. And so, I'm only one person, so I only have so many hours in a day, and we need somebody to do that role all the time. So, it's extremely helpful when you find the right people that can help offload those sorts of things.
Yeah, and speaking to that point, I think that, and move towards wrapping it up here, I think that it's also important for clients and people listening to understand that we have lived by the idea when it comes to staff that you hire talent when talent comes available, right? When they come across our face, that's what we've done, right? Whether it's the right time or not has been less of an issue for us. We've looked at it and said, when a talented person kind of becomes available and we become aware of it and we can make it happen, we make it happen, right? And we've lived with the fact that the timing might not be perfect, but that's what we're willing to kind of sacrifice at the benefit of the firm being able to get talented people, right? And I think that that's something that people might see over the next 6 months is more people get added because talent is very, very hard to find. And so when it is available and it's in front of you, we've learned that you have to take advantage of that opportunity, even if the timing is not quite what you want it to be.
I don't think the timing, for maybe Polly, I think that aside from that, timing is just, she's been one of the few that we've said, okay, and we set it out and we just kind of hired her on a schedule.
Right.
I don't know if anybody else has been timed at all.
Right.
Like they've just shown up. Like there've
Right.
been advisors where things have happened or they've decided to go. John, I'd say John.
Yeah.
John was a timing thing too, actually. But from the other advisors, they just kind of happened.
Right.
Especially with advisor talent that just comes available sometimes where somebody's just had it. They're just like, hey, I'm ready to make a move. And your firm's, come up in conversation or I found you online or what have you. That's just happens. Timing's never good. It's like moving or it's like, it's moving or adding to your family or whatever. It's never the perfect timing. You just can't do it. It's so hard.
Right. Because understanding perfect timing means that you have to know what tomorrow's going to bring, which nobody does. So if you get timing right, you get it right in hindsight, right? You look back and go, the timing was right on that. But there's no way to get timing right in the moment because it requires knowing what tomorrow is going to bring, to ensure that the timing was right. So I think that we've been smart to say, let's forego that and let's take talent when talent becomes available.
Exactly.
So, lastly, what are your thoughts on jelly beans?
Not a fan at all.
Wow.
Zero. There are no good jelly beans.
That is so disappointing. Danny, jelly beans? Oh my gosh. Who
terrible texture.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Fantastic.
Like no crunch. Like
Man.
If you said, okay, let's contrast jelly beans, okay, fun little colors, maybe fun flavors. Give me M&Ms all day. Way better. And M&M is a fairly mediocre one. Jelly beans are trash. Don't
bring me this like tropical flavored jelly bean. No, I want the original old school Brock's jelly beans. So fantastic.
Is there a favorite color or flavor?
Purple and red are pretty solid. White and black are kind of indifferent. I've learned to like them more than I used to. But they're fantastic.
Next thing you're going to tell me that you like candy corn.
Candy corn's okay. I would prefer the pumpkins, the orange pumpkins. Those are better than candy corn. The worst, though, my father eats, two things. He eats those god-awful orange and black wrapped candies.
He's the only guy?
Oh, horrible, dude. Those candies are terrible.
Yeah.
Second thing that he eats, which are god-awful too, malted milk balls.
Those are not that bad.
Oh man, they come in like the milk.
Whoppers.
Oh, it's so
He's
terrible.
a big Whopper guy.
Yes, he is. He is. Wow, they're horrible.
Not that bad.
They're
But
terrible.
those little candies that come in the wrappers, he's the only guy that I know that would ever eat them. I mean, if you would dig through like your Halloween candy, those would always be left and they just get thrown out.
That and the pencil somebody gave you.
Thanks for the toothbrush.
Exactly.
Dentist guy.
Appreciate
Never
that.
going to that house again.
Exactly. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. We want to share more of kind of how we got to this point in the firm, and I think it's hopefully it's interesting for people, and they learn a little bit more about how we got to this point, and more importantly, kind of where we're trying to go with it, and how we make these decisions. So, thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to speaking to you again on Give Me Some Truth.
Walkner Condon Financial Advisors is a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Registration with the SEC does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The opinions expressed by the participants of this podcast are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Walkner Condon Financial Advisors. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Thanks for listening, and for further information, please visit WalknerCondon.com.